So today I am just trying something brand spanking new. I have never fully made a recipe on my own before, and I had this idea. I'm sure it's not something terribly ingenious that nobody else has ever come up with, but I have an idea for what I call cupcakes, right? So to play on cookies, right? Cooney's cookies and cupcakes. And so what I wanted to do is take a cupcake, put cookie crumbs in the middle, and then when we do the top, you put cookie crumbs on the top, maybe even a little sliver of cookie. I'm sure that has been done. But what I have written here is kind of sort of a hybrid. Well, it's not really hybrid. It's using fresh milled flour. And because I've never made anything like this before, even with regular cupcakes, I am absolutely unsure of what is going to happen. I've kind of adapted a different recipe that I found using fresh milled flour that...
What?
Cameraman was trying to sneak in and grab his headphones because he's not part of this shoot today. He set it up for me, but...
doing an audio check, I think.
Yeah, he had to replace his monitor on one of his monitors on his computer because it decided it wanted to start flashing yesterday, and so he's like, woo, and it came and he's got it all set up. So you're gonna be editing now, right? Yeah. So he's gonna go edit, but he needed his headphones. Anyways, cupcakes. It's fresh milled flour, and I've kind of adapted it from another recipe that I found that was like an almond bread thing, and I'm going to attempt to not just make it a cake, I'm going to attempt to make it in some sort of cupcake thing, and so this is even more informal than our typical Cooney's Cookie Chronicles, and we'll see how it goes. I'm still in the end stages of setting up, so it's kind of like what do they do that on TikTok, the get ready with me? This is like set up with me. So I have the snickerdoodles that I made yesterday. I took a whole bunch of them that were, the first time around, the first batch I did, they were like super loose. And so I just kept putting them back into the oven intentionally to try to dry them out to where I could get them to where they would be perfect for cookie bits or crumbs, cookie crumbs. So I put them and I kind of hand broke them up, and then I thought, oh, well, here, let me try to make them more crummy. But I'm not overly satisfied with that. So we're gonna see if the magic bullet does it without completely pulverizing the cookies. Because I definitely want some chunk to it. So we'll just see what happens. I mean, I kind of do want complete bits for a little bit, but I do have some of those in the bag already. So we're just gonna take this amount here, throw it into the magic bullet and see what happens. You are along for my science experiment, my I don't know how to bake bakery experiment. All right, let's pop it up and down a couple times. Wow, that's weird. It's doing it. Yeah, I think we're gonna end up with more of a crumminess than I was really kind of hoping to have, so. Well, we'll just make this complete powdery crumbs and then just work with the bigger bits that I find in there. Because these would probably be nice on top of the frosting. Haven't figured out how to make that yet, but we're gonna make that too. Like a cinnamon frosting. So maybe with the crumbles all over there. It's a neat thing. I love texture. I love texture in my things that I eat. So when it's multi-textural, it satisfies in a way that the other things don't. And then of course, my favorite thing to do when I'm eating is pull my food apart. So yes, I play with my food. Oh, we'll go with that. It's not too bad. They smell really good. All right. So, and I was going to use 45 grams of crushed snickerdoodle for inside of it. We'll see. 45 grams doesn't seem like a lot. I'm gonna weigh it here on my little fun new working. It doesn't go unstable, can't compute. So put my little bowl on there, zero it out, and start dumping and see what we get at 45 grams. Huh? It's actually quite a bit. It's about 45 right there, so we'll see how that goes. Once I figure out it is what I'm doing. You know, the truth is, some days you're not sure that you're in the mood to record, or at least I feel that way. I'm sure that's probably a thing. And I was like, I really want to try to make these cupcakes, but I don't really feel like being on video right now. I have to do the setup and all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting. Once I start, it kind of just keeps going, and it's got this really neat feel in here today. It had rained all yesterday, and then all this morning was flooded and just wonderful. Because again, I think I've mentioned before, we so very rarely get rain in Southern California, that we've had a handful of days that it's rained over the last couple of weeks, and it's just wonderful. I'm sure the rest of the country is like, it's raining again. Can't we just get some sunshine? And here in Southern California, we're like, why is it always sunny? But the truth be told, the reason we pay so much to live in Southern California, why do we stay? Why do we put up with all the madness that exists, all of the rules, all the regulations, all the insanity that is absolutely true? You've heard about California, it is all absolutely true. It's because we pay for the weather. And so we pay for the weather, and we have to remind ourselves of that sometimes. So let's see, I still need buttermilk and vanilla, and then I should be good here on the last of the items that I need. I'm gonna use 2/3 of a cup of buttermilk. Do you see the little bubble? Right. And then vanilla. I get my vanilla from Costco. It says it is pure vanilla extract. There's nothing else going on here besides extracted and bottled in the USA, right? It's got vanilla bean extractives and water and alcohol, 35%, but it is the cheapest. I mean, I don't know if Costco prices change throughout the United States, but here in Southern California, $10. Sneaky cameraman behind the scenes again. Or are you gonna let your dog out?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear her whining. I was ignoring her. Anyways, $10 for 16 ounces of vanilla. I can't really complain. Now, it's possible that's not the highest grade vanilla that I could possibly ever get, but I think it works just fine. It smells so good. But if I were to taste it, it would be horrid. So vanilla works the same as salt does in recipes. It enhances the flavor of other things, but vanilla also gives it its own flavor as well. So half a teaspoon of vanilla. There you go. I'll just stick it in here with my buttermilk. become a habitual cleaner-upper as I go along. So I've got like a few things sitting here out of like camera shot that are not already cleaned up, and it's kind of driving me just a little bit nutty. So the next thing I'm gonna do is mill my flour. Okay, so I'm going to measure out 208 grams of hard white wheat. 210, close enough. I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. So we've got our 210 grams. And we're gonna turn on this guy over here. Try to do it all one-handed-y. All right, hold on. I don't know if I'll ever be really super fast at any of this stuff, because if I take the time to stop and wipe up every single little crumb I find as I go along and then wash my hands 900 times, it's gonna take me forever. All right, I think I'm good here. So, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my oven now, even though I think it's gonna take me quite a while to do this, and so I'll probably be wasting just a little bit of gas. All right, first things first, plug in Squidward here, my Nutrimel Artiste. You know, over several videos, if you've watched any of the other videos, you may have seen in the early days, which is really just yesterday, I have a tendency to go like, oh no, it's really clunky. And I'm just wondering, and you know, cameraman standing there and telling me, they're like, I think it's because of the sugar. Now, when I was making the snickerdoodles yesterday, I was making a double batch and there was a lot of butter and sugar in it. And so when it's trying to do its thing, it's sounding like it's really clunky, and I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is not so great for this. And then I'm like, but I've had other times that are just fine. So I'm thinking it might be like an order of operations type of thing going on here. Like I can't just dump all of the butter and sugar in there and expect that it's going to instantly be smooth and just love what's going on. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and cream the butter just a little bit first, then add the sugar, although admittedly in this particular case there is a half a cup of butter and a half a cup of sugar. It's very different than the 2 cups of butter and like the 3 cups of sugar I think I used yesterday when I made the snickerdoodles. So obviously the load is not gonna be anywhere near as bad on this one. But I do have my bowl scraper in here, and I'm going to go ahead and dump my unsalted butter into there. And I bet you I am going to need my favorite handy dandy spatula. You can tell that, I don't know if you can actually see the the love that's been had on this particular spatula. It's the one that's most comfortable for me. It's lightweight and it just fits in my hands perfectly. But this is caused by things like primarily trying to get every bit of tomato paste out of a can, and the top edge of the can just chews it up. So, all right, let's turn this on. Yeah. It's the only thing that's rough for me on this one, because it's a smaller amount in the recipe. The butter has a tendency to congregate on the bottom by itself and not really pick up. I don't know if I'm gonna have to fiddle with this one a little bit, but the absolute best thing about creaming butter and sugar in the Nutrimel Artiste is this. When you have your KitchenAid, it doesn't have one of these. I plop this bad boy right on the top, close him up, and no matter how much butter and sugar I have in there, no problem. it doesn't go flying all over the place. Yeah, it's a really little batch. This might have been a good one to try out my hand mixer with. I tried it yesterday with the snickerdoodles, and there was just so much butter and so much sugar. It just was not creaming easily with the hand mixer, and it was flying all over the place because, you know, that thing I was just telling you about, this wonderful lid, stops that from happening. So we're doing what they always put in the recipe as scrape down the sides as needed. This is the scrape down, but it's not really the sides because we have our handy dandy bowl scraper that's an attachment to the cookie petals here in our artiste. But I will tell you absolutely, when it comes to making bread dough, I cannot imagine that the KitchenAid would produce, would work as nice and easily as these bottom drive mixers. So maybe one day I'll get a KitchenAid, and maybe it may bring a whole new meaning to my life at that point. But as of this point, funds are limited. Let's be honest, counter space is limited. I don't know if you've ever noticed my counters back there. Pretty much everything that's on my counters is on my counters all the time. Of course, when I go to record, I'm not gonna leave mess hanging out. And when I go to bed at night, I don't leave mess hanging out. So I kind of treat you guys like I treat my kitchen, you know, before I go to bed or when somebody comes over. But I do notice that most baking, cooking kitchens, they have like one little lonely old like container of flour on the back and maybe a stand mixer over here, but largely their counters are completely empty. And I'm thinking, wow, you have to clean out your kitchen every single time that you go to shoot a video? That ain't me. That ain't me. So let's try this again. Make another stop, pull it up from the bottom. It kind of gets smushed in the middle. It will get there. I know it will get there because I have made this half a cup of butter, half a cup of sugar thing before, and it did it. We're going for light and fluffy on this guy. I am actually gonna go ahead and add one of my egg yolks first before it gets completely, oh my goodness. I'm trying to make a mess here. That's very, very possible. Let's see if I can make it loosen up from the bottom a little bit. There's just not enough in here for this. It needs a larger batch, really. Let me tell you, nothing will try your patience more than something not doing what it is you want it to do, knowing it's capable of doing it, but just because you decided, well, I don't want to make a huge batch because I have no clue how this is going to turn out. Maybe jumping ship here in a minute to the the other one, the complete opposite of what happened yesterday, the snickerdoodles. I'll go ahead and toss this one in here too. So, and then Gracie, it was me, you silly girl. I did it. It was me. go ahead and put the honey in. Not gonna lie, I bet you a KitchenAid would have done a bang up job here. But who has $400 sitting around to buy a mixer? Not I. Now I know once I get some substance in here, it's gonna start doing something. So, add flour mixture and the buttermilk mixture to the butter and sugar mixture in 2 additions, right? So I'm gonna add some of this, mix it in. Yeah, see now it's starting to pick it up a little bit at the bottom. I mean, you can kind of tell that these mixers are meant for primarily bread dough or large batches, and this is not. So let's put some of our buttermilk and turn on. And more of the flour. I think you're supposed to end with the flour, so I'm actually going to do a 3rd addition for that one. And the last bit of the dry ingredients. All right, I am curious what it tastes like. Don't tell the people who freak out about raw eggs that I tasted it. You know, I think I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon to it. I mean, after all, these are snickerdoodles, right? So I should probably have some cinnamon in it. Tastes good though. I'm gonna put it more than 1 measuring teaspoon. All right, I know that's kind of a lot, but we're experimenting. And if this works, I don't even have to write down how crazy, funny girl. I don't even have to write down how much cinnamon I put in there because I have it on video. Try it again. Hint of cinnamon. I'm gonna say that was a good call. I just hope it bakes up the way that I want it to bake up. Because the changes that I made to accommodate for this and then putting it in a cupcake muffin type situation is, I have no experience with this kind of thing. I tried this one yesterday. It was rough. But I have a feeling it'll work out a little bit better for egg whites. It's 2 egg whites and the egg whites from 2 eggs. And actually a lot of white in them. One of them had more than the other. I thought, wow, that's a lot. There's 9 speeds on this, and we've got it up at 9. Let's see. No, I would call that weak peaks. Let's try again. I would call that stiff peaks. It really is kind of neat that you can just take something as simple as an egg white and just whip it around until it gets enough air in it and then it'll hold its shape. That is just so cool to me. Wind's blowing. Anyways, I was telling you earlier that it's been raining, and then all of a sudden at about 11:30 this morning, it's about 2:15 now, but about 11:30, everything just stopped. The rain all stopped, and the sun came out, and it was glistening, shiny, beautiful everywhere. And now there's a bit of a breeze, and you may be able to hear our wind chimes outside, and we've got the front door screen open. It's a little on the cooler side, but it's like, nope, put on your warm clothes because we're opening the doors. I love the doors open. All right, so now I need to take this out of here, take the batter out of here and put it in here, and then I'll add the whites to it. Hey, turkey. I mean, hey, cameraman.
Oh, yeah.
You might want to grab Granny's phone and get the other pictures. Nope. Get the videos all off of it. Please. And what are you editing?
Bugs.
You're editing the vlogs?
Because they're easy.
They're supposed to be mines.
Make more vlogs. You don't have more.
I will be making more vlogs. He taught me how to edit. Now, I definitely do not have the technological artistic inclination to edit the way that he does, so he's on the hook for my big videos, the Cookie Chronicles. I don't think we'll ever get out of that, because I just don't think I have the it factor. But as far as the vlogs go, it seems like it's simple enough. I always wonder, how the heck can you get all of the batter off of these things? Because it seems like such a waste to leave anything behind. Maybe next time if this works out okay, then maybe I'll make like a triple batch, and then it'll probably play nicely for me. Of course, then again, if this works out okay, then I gotta hand them to people to try and have people that aren't invested in telling me just how deliciously wonderful my stuff is. My husband has been taking some cookies and bread and whatnot to work with him a little bit here and there as we test out things. And so now people are asking, can I buy these? What else does she make? So that's a good sign, because they don't know me, so they don't necessarily have to feel like, oh yeah, that's really good, you know, especially when it's, you know, one man giving another man a cookie. He's probably far more inclined to say, yeah, I don't really like that, or, you know, give me their honest feedback through him, versus somebody who knows me might be a little bit more embarrassed to say, like, I don't really like that. But I can't improve upon it if people don't tell me the truth. So these cupcakes are gonna be heavier than a traditional cupcake for sure, because we're using the fresh mud flour. And I have absolutely grown to love the texture of fresh mud flour. It is very, very, very different than the typical all-purpose flour items that you get pretty much anywhere. All right, pulling out the bigger boy. Again, I just want to take my hands and like run my hands through it to get everything out. What is the secret? How do you get this stuff out without wasting? I don't want to waste. Mix this up a little bit better. Get all those little extra bits of flour that kind of stuck out on their own. Also saw a little tiny bit of butter. All right. Then I'm supposed to fold. I say that stiff peaks. So I have on my mind a friend. I was contacted by another friend. These are people that one I still work with and one who used to work with us, that yesterday she contacted me to ask me to pray for the other person. And I didn't ask why, so I just started praying. I figured she'll tell me when she's ready, but I figured if she's reaching out to me, because this is not somebody who is, this is not typical of this person. I would not have expected this person to reach out to me and ask me to pray. And to be honest with you, it's really the first time outside of like maybe a group member, somebody who's been at my house, we've studied the Bible together, that kind of thing. Outside of that scenario, I can't ever recall a time where I certainly have never had somebody seek me out to go out of their way to ask me to pray for them for any reason. And so I thought, wow, if she's coming to me, it must be something horrible. Well, I found out today that the other person that she was asking me to pray for had an accident on his motorcycle 3 days ago with a semi-truck, and the condition was not looking good at all. And I guess today he woke up. So she sent me a message and said, thank you for praying. He woke up. I'm like, woke up? And then that's when she told me about what was going on. And so right now it's March 13th, 2025. And while I don't expect that this video will drop for probably another month, because we're trying to stay about a month ahead so we don't overwhelm ourselves. I ask for you to, if you're a praying person, if you have a good prayer life, even if you have a bad prayer life, even if you've never prayed before for anybody in your life, I ask you to just put it in your mind and ask God to help continue to support whoever has been affected by this. I would imagine that there will be a long recovery from this. And then, of course, there's always times where we just don't know what's going to happen. So no matter what, people are affected by this horrible incident, and there will be a need for these people to have support. And God's our only true support. So I ask you for that, and I thank you. Now I'm supposed to just kind of fold it in, which I do kind of wonder about how this is really, like what it really does. And again, my lack of baking experience and, absolutely not going to any type of school or having any formal anything, just what I've worked with and what I've sought out to try to find out about. Like, I would think that as I push this in, fold it in to get it completely incorporated, that it would in fact cause the air to be fluffed out, so to speak, of these egg whites. Maybe that's something I should look up. Maybe I'll look it up, I'll find out, and then if this works out, the next time I go to make these, and if I make a video, I will tell you what I found out. It just seems slightly counterproductive. I mean, it's not obviously going to be slimy wise, as you're not going to have the same consistency with egg whites whipped versus, just putting them in there all white and slimy. The next part of our experiment. Oh, I just can't stop myself. I must rinse things off immediately. I couldn't get myself to just throw it into there. All right. I have been using silicone cupcake pans. The jury is still out as to whether or not I really actually like the silicone cupcake pans or not. In one way, absolutely 100% for sure, I love these. And And I'll tell you what that is in a second, because I always use the cupcake liners. So I'm not having to worry about greasing them or anything like that. But I will tell you that once you're finished and they've sat for a few minutes and gotten to the point where you can put them on a cooling rack, the fact that you can pop them out, hopefully they don't do that, to pop them out just like that sure does make life a lot easier. So I like these little, they kind of almost from a glance look like a giraffe. So I'm running low on beige colored cupcake liners. I don't have any idea how many this is gonna make. Well, let's start with 9 and see what happens. Let's see what happens, because again, this was originally written as a recipe for like and actually it wasn't even this size. I doubled it, so it was like an 8-inch pan. I don't know, I had already like half agained the recipe before I made any changes to it when I made it as a cake pan, like a little, it was a roundy. And that was on a 9-inch cake pan, and I had already done 1.5 time conversion on that. So I think I did 2 on this, plus made some other very significant changes. So we may end up with a pile of mush. All right, through the magic of editing, you did not know that I could not stop myself from at least rinsing off the items that I have put into my sink, because all I could think is, man, that's gonna turn into paste by the time I get done here. So I intended to put some in the bottom, then sprinkle a little bit in the middle of the snickerdoodle crumbs, and then put some on top and see how that goes. Hello, cameraman. What you doing?
Bringing the phone back.
Oh, yes, that's right. I did ask you to told you to do that, huh? So my 2 boys are almost 12 years apart. And I can remember after we moved into the house that we're in now, cameraman was about, he was 5 when we moved here. And I can remember when he was about 5 years old, and it was not too long after we moved here, I would ask cameraman to do something, and he would not do it. And his older brother would be, his older brother would be like in the same room, and he would look at him and he would say, cameraman, which, no, we weren't calling you cameraman then, but.
You weren't?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm sure. My memory's bad, it's not that bad. So he would look at him and say, Mom is not asking. Mom is ask-telling. I'm not sure he is, I'm not sure that he still has figured, I'm not sure if he has figured that out, even to this day. Then when I'm asking, I'm ask-telling. And all of those things that, you know, you tell yourself as a parent when you become a parent for the first time, you think, I am not going to act like my parents. I am not going to speak like my mother did to me. Absolutely not. It is not going to happen, because I just said so is not going to come out of my mouth. And so then you treat your child in a way that, 3, 4, 5 years old, you're explaining everything to them because, well, at least I did, because I'm like, no, they need to understand, why do I want you to do this? What is the meaning behind it? So you can understand growing up, hey, here's a value that I understand about why it is somebody has asked me to do something. Well, let me tell you, around 5 years old, you throw that notion out the window and you turn around and you say, because I said so. So, while I have not completely abandoned the explanatory nature of the way that I want things done, sometimes just do it. We go full Nike here. So let's see, in my experiment here, yeah, I think I'm gonna end up with needing to do another 3, but I'm gonna attempt to put about maybe a teaspoon in the middle of these. Yeah, it's more like, yeah, close to a teaspoon in the center, and we'll see what happens. Who knows if if this stuff will be flowing out the sides. Who knows if you'll even be able to taste it. It may just end up all up on the top. So yeah, no, for sure I'm gonna end up making more here, so. This batter is really, really thick, so I'm having to kind of scoot it to the edges in order to be able to have a chance with the crumbs. Maybe with the rest, if it makes more than 12, maybe what I'll do is, oh, you know what I think I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put those in the center, and then I think I'm gonna put a couple of bigger chunks in the center of these guys. So I've got the lighter papers, and then I have the little darker ones, so that we can experiment with what happens if you put a chunk in the middle. Will the chunk be more noticeable? So I've got a couple of, put some bigger chunks here. This ought to be interesting. It's so thick. How am I gonna smoosh it around? And are they gonna come out huge because they're kind of overfilled? It's all part of the fun of experimenting. And then of course there's the occasional whoops that produces something pretty neat as well, which is what happened with our Koonie bombs. I was making mint chocolate cookies. There was a huge disaster with that. But now we will be attempting to take what I mean me and Mr. Google, what we boo-booed with on that one, and modify it enough to maybe make something kind of neat. Now, after everybody ate those Koonie bombs, as I call them, because let's be honest, it was an epic failure bomb on the original recipe that I was trying to make. Yeah, I think it's going to make 12, so that works out nicely. When we gave them, I had my husband take some to work. Everybody said the taste was delicious. I just need to work on the texture. So hopefully we'll remember to link to that video at the end of this one. If you want to go back and take a look at that fun, slightly fiasco silver lining, because it was totally my fault. I could have caught the problem, but I didn't. But that's what we call a happy accident. I don't even know if this is absolutely necessary. I think I shall not attempt to do this on some of them and see if it fixes itself. Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna fix them. Well, here, I'll leave one in the corner and see what happens if I don't smooth it out. Kind of looking forward to dinner. I'm making macaroni and cheese tonight. It's been a while since I had macaroni and cheese. But we do it that casserole style where you make your noodles and then you layer it back and forth with the different cheese. I kind of like to use a mix of sharp cheddar cheese and some jack cheese. And then I layer it back and forth casserole style, and with what do you call it? Flour. with some flour in the middle of each layer, along with a pretty decent amount of Lowry's garlic salt and pepper. And then of course, cheese on top, and you let it get all melty fresh, and then you take off the foil, and then it gets all pizza cheesy up on top. Oh, it's so delicious. I am very much looking forward to that. maybe if I remember, I'll take a little shot of that before as I finish it, so that you can see, like, ooh, yeah, they had their deliciousness for dinner. I'm kind of making this up as I go along. I hadn't really intended to do this as I was baking it, put the crumbs, but why wouldn't that taste good? And it might make a little crunchy-licious, kind of like a coffee cake. I guess this is really kind of what it is. It's like a little snickerdoodle muffin coffee cake. And I think it's more fun to call it a cupcake. Okay, so bake until the cakes spring back when I touch them in the center lightly in a toothpick inserted, comes out the middle clean. And then I'll start checking in about 20 minutes because I don't really have any clue how long this is gonna take. Okay, it's been 20 minutes. It's probably not done, but we will check. Oh, doesn't look too shabby. Oh, they are done. Good thing I checked them. Hopefully they're not overdone. It's probably like a 18 to 20 minutes. That was a little surprising. Let's see. Well, this is what we're looking like so far. I don't think that's terrible. So I'm gonna put them over here on the little cooling rack. I'm gonna let them cool for a little bit and then pop them out of there and just set them on the rack by itself. But now I need to figure out what it is I'm doing for frosting. Okay, I noticed something when I was taking them out of the silicone pan. First thing I noticed is that the little crumbs that I put on top, they just kind of sit on there. They don't really, some of them stick and some of them didn't. So maybe in the future I would push down on the top just a little bit to get them to completely stick, because some of them seem pretty loose. Like it just, I can move it around with my fingers. The other thing I notice is it's still very, very loose at the bottom, but I think that's just because they're still warm and I'm not sure how they should feel. The other thing I noticed is the one on the corner that I had left not smushing it out to the sides, it baked nice and evenly. However, I did notice that all of the little bits of stuff that I put on the top kind of got moved to the side, I guess, as it baked. I'm gathering my supplies to make the frosting. I've got my unsalted room temperature butter here. It's asking me for a whole cup. So it's 2 sticks. It's just been sitting out. Luckily it's not summer. 115-degree weather that we get here is probably not conducive, even with the air conditioning on, to actual room temperature butter, which, by the way, I always wonder how warm or cool is this room. They say to like push, they meaning the people on YouTube that I've seen, they push your finger and it like barely moves, and I'm like, that's not room temperature. If I'm trying to spread that on toast, that's still a little bit not ideal for me. So their idea and mine are very, very different, but theirs exists for a reason. But today it is only like 65 degrees in here, so we should be fine. So 1 cup of all unsalted butter, and then I've got my confectioner's sugar. I'm going to use 3 to 4 cups of that. It calls for heavy cream, and it said, because I actually don't have any heavy cream on hand, but it said that I could use whole milk, which I do have, but I think I want to use my kefir. It's really thick also, because one of the things that it said in the substitution is if you use whole milk, it won't come out as creamy. Well, kefir, if you've ever had kefir, it's basically like a runny yogurt. So it is very, very thick, probably a very similar consistency to heavy cream, but with a little bit of a tartness to it that I actually think might taste good. I mean, cream cheese would have a little bit of tartness to it too. So I'm actually going to try that and see how that goes. 1/4 cup. Oh, it says at room temperature, so I'll heat it up just a little bit. It looks like my water is boiling. Okay, do you have this too? These essentially look the same, right? But when I grab this one, I'm like, I don't want that one. I want this one. There's something about the way it feels in my hand. There's really, for all intents and purposes, if anybody else were to look at these, they'd go, okay, I might want to use the one that still has its, fairly well-rounded shape at the top. And it's been used over the years. But if you look at this guy, he originally had a nice round shape at the top, but he's all worn down over here. So we've eaten a lot of wood over the years. Anyways, when I make my macaroni and cheese, it's not really macaroni. It's farfalle. The little bow ties. I like again, it's a texture thing. I am a super, super huge texture person. Flavor is important, but texture, I can eat things that are okay in flavor, but amazing in texture, and I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. Or I can eat something that is really tasty, but the texture is off, and I'm like, I don't want it. So anyways, I use the farfalle. I like the way it stacks and how it tastes. Not taste, but how the texture turns out. So it says 8 minutes on this guy. And I find that whatever the box says on the pasta, it's exact. And 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Cameraman's gonna kill me on the length of this one. I may have to do it on my own. With a handheld or stand mixer, beat the butter. Want to make sure that this doesn't stick. It's the worst. You gotta make sure it doesn't stick, because the worst is when you're making spaghetti noodles and you walk away those first couple of minutes and you don't get them all, and then at the end you go to dump it out and half of them are like stuck together in bundles of like 15 pieces all stuck together, or 4 stuck together, and they didn't quite cook right. I've never done that. Last week. We're going 3 to 4 cups, so I'm not going to be very exacting about my measurements here. That's 2. It's like 2.5-ish. I'll take some and put that there. I don't know if it's been recording me or not, because the battery is low, because we decided to put it on, where is it? We decided to put it on pause instead of stopping it while these dudes were baking. That didn't work out so well. Turns out there's a little latch under there, and if you put your finger on it, it's not gonna stay in one piece. All right, let's butter. Should be using the different attachment. All right. You learn something, you buy something new, you don't know how it works. You gotta pull out the other dudes. Oh yeah, that's good. The bowl turns on its own. Isn't that nice of it to do that for me? I would say that's done. My pasta's almost done. Okay. I did go ahead and add just a little tiny pinch of salt to it, and then now I've got, it says a tablespoon, let me get dry, cinnamon to make it really, really cinnamony. And to just fold it in by hand. All right, let's see what it tastes like. Gotta be honest, I don't taste any cinnamon. Well, at least it gives it the cinnamon look to it. It's weird. You would think I'd be able to taste all that cinnamon that I just put in there. Why can't I taste any? Well, I am going to wait for these cupcakes to finish cooling off. Then I'll pipe some on top and we'll try them and see how it goes. All right, the Snickerdoodle cupcakes have finished cooling. I'm gonna put some of this cinnamon buttercream frosting. I had to add more cinnamon to it. I doubled the cinnamon. Maybe you can taste it. I'm not too entirely sure. So we'll see what happens here. I've only ever frosted anything with a piping bag. I've only ever frosted cupcakes with a piping bag once, and that was last week. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe I'll bring this guy here. Give myself some room to work with here. Okay, gonna attempt. Ooh, it's not the consistency I was hoping for. That's a lot, and it's ugly. Ay. It definitely is not the consistency that I was going for. It's loose. But we're just gonna put little dots over the top because I don't know what caused it to be the consistency it is. And maybe it's too much cinnamon, but it's something. Who knows? Maybe the cinnamon cake may not be ideal, but maybe the base cake itself, I might be able to do something with that. Good thing nobody's waiting to taste these other than my family, because this is underwhelming. It's so weird. I don't know if you can really tell just how loose and weird they are. Here, I might as well stick one more here. Yeah, it just kind of all runs together. I guarantee you it is not supposed to be like this. It has to be all that cinnamon. But you know what? If we don't try these things, we will never really know. There's just something about doing something yourself, trying things out, trying to noodle on it, and then maybe do the tried and true thing. I don't know. Well, I'm gonna do this little last one, and I'll leave those three with nothing on them and see what those taste like without any of this weird frosting. It's like really, really runny. That makes me a little sad. Well, let's put some cookies on the top. Or maybe slather them around a little bit. So at least make it look more normal. I will tell you what, that is not pretty. But this goes right in line with my assessment of my skills of, I can make desserts and it might even taste really good, but it may not be so pretty. Well, that is what we came up with. This is the first official iteration of the Snickerdoodle Cupcake. Now when my husband gets home, we'll crack them open and see how they taste. Are you sure this time?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, you don't want to manually adjust your gimbal. Okay, it's official. We're going to have a cupcake tasting party. I'm still very underwhelmed by my frosting situation over here. But we're going to give them to the people and we're going to get actual reactions. And these people don't hold back.
No, especially not.
One of them only likes 50% of the things that I make, so. Oh, cameraman.
What?
No, you're like, what? Not I.
No.
Okay, so.
I'll take that
Here
one.
you go, cameraman.
Ooh.
And one for Granny's. And one for Jake from State Farm. All right, first things first. How easy is it to pull the little paper off? All right.
How am I supposed to, hold on, let me, manually zoom.
It's holding up together pretty darn good. Mm-hmm. It's nice pulling off the paper. That's a decent sign. Again, I think they were already completely done when I first checked them, so they probably were in a minute or two too long. I did not see that coming. So 100% we know that's an adjustment. Mm-hmm. Now, first thing I'm doing is pulling it apart to see if there's anything in the center. Okay. Will you be able to zoom in on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What?
So
What is that?
I put the cookies in the center. I wanted to see what would happen.
Oh.
So there's cookie in the center. I think this particular one that I have here had cookie chunks in it, not just the cookie bits. Mm-hmm. Well, what's going on around here?
Oh, I haven't tasted yet.
Let's see. Wow.
Tastes like cinnamon toast crunch cupcake.
You've eaten the top? You ate some of the top?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because everybody eats different. I have a tendency to pull it apart, eat some without the frosting.
I'm trying to be a camera operator.
So eat the bottom first, right? I think a lot of people do that. So I'll eat that and then I'll eat the top. And it's kind of that way I can get the whole experience of what's going on here.
The bottom? A little bland.
A little dry.
That too.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dry.
And that's probably primarily
Not a whole lot of
because
flavor.
it's probably primarily because it's overbaked. So that would affect the flavor and the texture. Now that doesn't mean that I can't maybe do something to kick up the flavor a little bit.
It's pretty good though.
I'm not sure what I would do to.
It's not to your standard.
No, for sure. But I created this.
Oh,
I invented this recipe, so to speak.
so it's subject to change and upgrading.
Of course. Of course, this was a total crapshoot. The original recipe was the one that I've made in the 9-inch round that I put the powdered sugar on the top. it's been adapted from that. But that had like jelly in it and all sorts of different things in it. Like, and so
More like a coffee cake.
I amended it to make it into this to see if we would end up with anything at all. And I think I have a start here. If you were to eat the bottom by itself without having the frosting on the top first, I think you would find it sweeter than if you eat it with the top. It's probably gonna feel like the bottom is not.
It was definitely a little dry.
Yeah. Yeah, but the biggest part of that is probably the over baking. So the top got a little, no, they stay pretty crunchy on top. Oh yeah.
The cookie on the top is really outstanding.
The cookie on the top is really neat because it's really chewy, like gummy chewy.
Oh no.
Oh no, there's a dog in the kitchen. Oh, puppy girl. You're my puppy girl. You're so
Poor
pretty.
dog.
You're so pretty.
It's a poor dog.
Poor dog. She doesn't get any love.
Never.
All right, let me try this top here.
I think it's really good.
The whole thing
The top.
or the top?
I hope I'm not rubbing the mic with my neck.
It's a good tasting frosting.
If only it had held its shape.
Yeah, I can see it slip.
Yeah, no, it was just real, it didn't, I think it's because the amount of cinnamon that I put in the top. I put 2 tablespoons of cinnamon in the top. Or the fact that he used kefir instead of whipping cream. But I would think that the kefir wouldn't have been that much of a difference. Because you can substitute milk, but they said, the recipe said that milk would cause it to be less soft, I think is what it said. It would be less soft. And this was just,
Which means it probably hold its shape better.
I mean,
That's soft.
you would think if it was less soft that it would hold its shape better. In this case, it did not. So I will get whipping cream. I'm not entirely sure I would go with even bothering to put the cinnamon in the frosting.
Why?
It might be better with just a sprinkling of cinnamon on, put the cookies on and a sprinkling of cinnamon over the top. Yeah. I think we have something to work with here. I would call this a success. From the longest video that I could possibly come up with. Sorry, cameraman. You got to do it right. If you're gonna burp on camera, you got to do it like they do in like in the European Top Gun.
What?
He burps out something in top of it.
That's
No,
nice.
he doesn't. He does the BS cough.
Oh, right.
Anyway. I think we have a possibility with the snickerdoodle cupcakes and a decent base to start off with maybe other cupcakes.
Oh, is that it?
Next time on Cooney's Cookie Chronicles.
So normally we get our dog cookies at Petco. We're making dog cookies. Oh, what a pretty girl. They only have 3 ingredients. We have rolled oats, we have peanut butter, and we have 2 bananas.
Yeah.
10 tablespoons of butter.
Speaking of eating, I wonder what that leftover stuff tastes like.
All right, probably like a peanut butter and banana sandwich. Ooh, they
Wow.
smell good. Now is the time to test out how good these cookies really are. To be a good girl. Oh, okay. I'd call that success.